Alright, we're doing paper mache, so we're going to need paper strips. Many of you may have done this stuff in kindergarten, early school art classes. It's pretty much the same thing at this early venture. Now, why is he doing a separate section on paper strips? Every idiot knows how to do that. You just take a pair of scissors, and you're doing it wrong if you do that. No scissors. Scissors, when you use them on the paper, give you a very straight cut, which cuts through all the fibers and leaves almost a bump, if you will. What you really want to do for this phase is you want to be tearing. Tearing gives you this nice rough edge, and when you get this stuff on whatever surface and smooth it down, the rough edge is going to lie flush when it's moist to whatever surface is under it. It's not going to leave kind of a raised ridge at all. This is very important if you want to do the pumpkin that gives kind of the straight bright orange exterior and not one of the crazy mottled ones like this. To do that other type, then you're definitely going to want to be using this method, and it should be used in general because it gives you a better fit. Alright, so you got your newspaper. Tear some strips. Anything that's going to give you a sharp blunted edge, make sure it's a nice ripped edge. Your paper should be ripped on all sides to give you that nice, rough, torn edge that'll lie flush. And get used to doing this for quite a while before you start. You can just dump your bits right into whatever collection area you've got. I like to separate them up because this saves me the trouble of doing that in the future. But you can just put it in your source as you like. So, I wish you many fun times doing this. Get some good spooky Halloween music going in the background, or some nice good whatever the heck it is you listen to, and it goes incredibly fast. I recommend you take a full gambit of some large ones and some small ones. Small strips are good for when you need to get in areas where there's more fine detail work needed, and the large ones will help you cover a lot of surface area broadly very rapidly. But always make sure you're tearing them up. Do not use scissors. Do not cut. It's bad. It's very not fun time. A lot of these newspapers will have edges that are previously cut flat. Tear them and get rid of the waste. Every edge torn. Get yourself a whole lot of strips before you start. I'd love to give you an exact figure, but I find that difficult. I already tore this edge. It's okay. I didn't just screw up. We're good. We're good. Alright, well, I'll see you at the end of this rainbow, because I'm going to be doing this for a while. And as fun as it would be to have me chat at you this entire time, I think you'd find it rather boring. See you on the other side. Okay, now that you have your strips all torn up, it's time for phase 2, which is making the pumpkin form. For this, you need your trash bag and a whole bunch of paper wadded up. I believe this trash bag is 40 gallons. And as you can see, it has been stuffed previously with paper. This is going to be the mold around which we begin to make our mache form. So, you just stuff your trash bag pretty full. The bigger the trash bag, the bigger the pumpkin. This is the biggest size I have used. Once you start getting really big, the layering that you have to do to keep the thing in one piece becomes absolutely intense beyond all belief, because the sides will start to collapse on themselves if there isn't enough strength. So, get your form ready. Get as much of the air out as possible. Turn it into as much of a blobby pumpkin shape as you can. And you could conceivably pop a small hole in the side just to get the air out. In fact, what the hell, we'll try it. The only problem with that is that the liquid component of the paper mache fluid can get in and begin a moldering process, which in and of itself isn't too bad, seeing as how the stuff is going to come out in the end anyway. Alright, one pumpkin form ready to become a pumpkin form. No mystery, no majesty, just a pretty much full trash bag. Alright, but it's not a pumpkin because it doesn't have those funky, cool grooves in it. I'm going to try one version that's just going to use a form with no grooving whatsoever, but now I'm going to show you how to put in the grooves that will give your pumpkin that distinct, bumped around shape. This is where your clothesline comes in. We are going to wrap this thing and compress down our grooves. And this is going to tighten right in. And as you can see, we have a nice good groove here going on, which is neither funky nor trippy, but groovy. And this is going to give that pumpkin a nice ridged shape that will characterize it as being somewhat pumpkin-y. As I think about this, I remember in the past, what generally tends to happen is you compress your first one down, and then as you do additional ones, your first one slackens off. So in retrospect here, I would say make your first groove pretty tight. Apologies for the sweat. It is summer and it is hotter than hell in here in my charmingly non-air conditioned apartment. Alright, groove one. When you finish a project, it's not uncommon to have extra bits coming off, and I'm a thrifty bastard. So when I snip these guys off, I save them. One quick knot at the top. And this will start becoming a secondary piece of rope, so I waste nothing. This here is left over from previous pumpkin projects. Now I do several grooves. Using 4 pieces of rope. Across and then 2 diagonals. For a standard pumpkin. Play with it. Do some with more, some with less. Doesn't really matter as long as you have a good time doing it. So there's 2 sets of grooves. One this way, one that way. One vertical, one horizontal. And no reason the clothesline should go to waste. Even though it's dollar store stuff. Be as thrifty as we can. And that's already turning into another rope. No, the knots will not make any problem whatsoever. Another one from a previous. Now we'll start diagonaling. So there's the cross. Now diagonal. But crazy nut with the pumpkin thing. Why did you leave that piece of plastic up top? Why didn't you just cut that off? It would make your life a whole lot easier. No reason. Just dumb. In other videos I have seen additional plastic being used as a hanging device. So if you want to dry this thing from a lofted position, you have something to suspend it from with relative ease. It also can be used to give your stem a bit of initial form without it becoming any kind of problem. It makes it a bit easier. But again, personal preference. No, I'm not going to show the mystery of tying the knot together. I will leave you on the internet to figure that out for yourselves. Okay, so 3 ways and final diagonal. Right across. If you're worried about holding the knot in place when it all starts to come together, after you make your first tighten down, just spin the pumpkin a couple times. It'll coil up a spot, and then you continue with the knot. Behold, the form is somewhat complete. It looks terrible, as you can plainly see. And when I'm looking at these forms, I want to start thinking about a couple things. Where am I going to carve the face on this in the future? There's a nice big bump out here. It's probably going to be a good carving face. There's also a good one here. But I'm also seeing a lot of unevenness. And the unevenness is really easy to fix. You just smush it till you like how it is. If it doesn't lie as flat as you want, give it a little squish. These forms are pretty pliant. If you're worried about a large area screwing up future paper mache, cut it off, doesn't matter. You can also just smooth it down. Won't matter in the least. But I'm cutting this one off because it offends me. There. One pumpkin form. This thing is ready for mache. I'll make a few more of these for other experiments that I'll show you as we go. Otherwise, let's whip up some mache paste and get started.